Grassroots is in panel. Jonathan Harris is making a strong bid to be jag-off today again.
Once is not enough.
Before the break, I was addressing Jeff Olson. We'll get our panel members. Afghanistan. Over $100 billion in aid is to build the war-torn nation is going up in flames. It's wasted money.
Yeah.
Over 73% of U.S. casualties have been happened on this president's watch. Is it an example of what happens when the federal government, be it Republican or Democrat, is an example of what happens when the federal government throws money at something and tries to manage it?
Yeah, I think this is an example.
Just like Obamacare.
I think this is an example of a pretty wicked collusion between corporate interest and government power.
Sounds like Obamacare to me, the insurance crony capitalist insurance.
What I'm speaking specifically is how enriched Dick Cheney became with his Halliburton stock. I mean, Halliburton is through the roof. They've spent billions, trillions in Afghanistan, and the Cheneys are living on easy street.
I have a question.
There are 4,000 widows.
Jeff, I may not agree, but fair enough assessment, because it looks like a conflict of interest from the outside. Would you say the same thing if insurance stocks rise?
We'll see about that.
Maybe not.
I think pointing a gun in an Afghani face is different than giving someone health care.
But you agree that when government throws, you said you agree that when government throws big money at something, this is what we get.
That's not a whole. This is what we got. I don't know about this.
One of the things that they said. Well, one of the things that they said in terms of the waste by the IG looked at this was the fact that Camp Leatherneck was no longer in operation and nobody was using it. Well, Camp Leatherneck was created in 2008. And Camp Leatherneck doesn't have any soldiers in it anymore because we're pulling our troops out. I don't understand why they consider that a waste of money. It's a waste of money because we're leaving it. Well, you have to understand and I think appreciate the fact that we have no idea what the doggone mission is there anymore. Right. And if we're not going to fight to win a war, then get the heck out.
I would agree with that. Jonathan Harris, nothing you ever saw is President Obama's fault. This waste of money, you say, is all on George Bush's lap because he started that war.
What I'm saying is not what I've ever said.
Okay.
The point I've ever tried to make with these things is I think it's laughable for the right to constantly try to blame President Obama for everything.
I'm not asking you.
The weather, bad food at a restaurant. I mean, all of it is President Obama's fault.
Oh, you lived through Bush derangement syndrome.
What I lived through was Bush destroying our economy, Bush letting us get attacked on September 11th, starting 2 wars based on a lie. Yeah, and the housing bubble. But I lived through that. That's not Bush. No, that's not Bush derangement syndrome. That's what he did. And what you guys try to do is you try to do false equivalence. Everything that happened to
let Victoria respond. You said some really extreme things there.
Well, I would just like to know, what did you think Bush did the 9/11 attacks himself? Was it 9/11 an inside job?
I didn't say Bush did the 9/11 attacks.
He was in office less than 8 months before the 9/11 attacks.
What I'm saying
is you try to blame President Obama for
Benghazi, but Bush isn't responsible for 9/11? That's a joke.
No, that's not true. Actually, they made a conscious decision not to send help to the 4 people.
Let's shift gears.
The Republicans
Jonathan Harris.
Fund security, even though they asked.
Let's shift gears. Generation Y. A record number of Americans are delaying marriage. We see why they do that with Jonathan Harris, but why?
I don't know. Who would want to marry?
Why society at large? Today's adults are at the lowest rate of people getting married by age 40 in our entire history. One of the side stories here is that the Judeo-Christian community, the Western civilization birth rates are lagging tremendously Muslim birth rates. We'll go to Jeff Olson. Good idea, bad idea, or irrelevant that Americans and Western society are delaying getting married, which of course delays birth rates.
I say wait. I mean, it's a failed institution. You got 60% divorce rate.
I don't know if it's that high, but it's high.
Young people are saddled with student debt. I mean, this is the anti-dowry, where you instead of adding something to, instead of the synergy that comes from a union like that, instead you wind up doubling up your student debt. I mean, why? I say wait.
We're short on time. Actually, divorce rate is between 40 and 50%. Not that that's low. Victoria Taft, quickly.
Oh, well, I think it's a shame. I think that we've deprived, because we spend so much money, we've deprived this generation and the next 2 generations to come from being able to fulfill their economic their destiny.
Jonathan Harris, we're out of time. Right? I would get your input. We're out of time. Let me just say this:
It's Bush's fault.
Political pollster, famed political pollster Scott Rasmussen once came on the show, talked about the Tea Party. His polling numbers show there's been a slow burn, he called it, in America since about the early 1960s, where people feel something isn't right, and that's what led to the Tea Party. And I think this all fits into that. Something isn't right about life. You talk about student loan debt and so forth.
I think everybody can feel it. Right?
I think they're just changing. I think values are changing. I think people don't necessarily feel they have to rush into a marriage, and they shouldn't.
Plus, I think we're in a depression.
All right. Well, 92 million Americans are looking for work.
Whose fault is that?
Oh, it's George Bush's fault.
Saying we added 9 million. We added 9 million jobs under this administration.
Jag off of the year over here. He's pushing hard for that.
They're all facts.
Harry Reid, step aside.
They're all facts.
I want to thank our panel members, Jonathan Harris, Jonathan, don't blame Obama Harris, Occupy fellow Traver Jeff Olson, and conservative radio talk shows Victoria Taft. I want to thank you all for being a member of a Grassroots panel. And I want to thank you, our viewers, for watching. We're right back at you again tomorrow night, same time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. And now I leave you with my Amato Mio moment of the day, Ninja Kitten versus Ceramic Cat.
News used to